Today's Steelers Talk video is sponsored by Hexclad. Get 10% off some premium cookware today at hexclad.com/chatsports. And welcome into Steelers Talk. And on today's show, we're going to be breaking down the Steelers' Week 8 matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Steelers have won 2 games in a row, currently sitting at 4-2, trying to make it 3 straight this week against the 5-2 Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to be getting into keys to victory, my score prediction, the whole 9 yards here in just a second. But first, make sure you click that subscribe button and join us for our live watch party here on Steelers Talk at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. An hour of pregame coverage followed by live play-by-play coverage. We're going to be doing live reactions to everything that happens on Sunday. So if you want a place to kick it with your fellow Yinzers, we have the biggest Steelers watch parties here on YouTube. So join the family today. Click that subscribe button right now. And then also, get into the comment section before we get into the meat of today's video. Let me know who you got in this week's matchup. If you got Pittsburgh, type PIT, or if you're going with the Jacksonville Jaguars, type JAC. Now let's get into this matchup here. Of course, the Steelers return home in Week 8 to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. 5-2 right now, beat the New Orleans Saints on Thursday Night Football in Week 7. So they've got quite a bit of time to prepare for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And right now you look at this opponent here in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, they're sitting at 5-2. Their head coach is Doug Peterson. Their offensive scheme is a modern pro spread offense. So they're going to spread things out on you. They like to do lots of RPOs, so look out for those this weekend. Then on defense, an attacking 3-4 scheme, very similar to kind of what Tampa Bay likes to run with the Buccaneers there with Todd Bowles. Lots of blitzes and lots of zone blitzes. So you look at the teams around the league today, lots of man blitzes. This team likes to do lots of zone blitz, which is something a little bit different than you're going to see from some of the other teams in the league. So far this season, of course, they've won 4 straight here against the Falcons, Bills, Colts, and Saints. And they're sitting at 5-2. This is really the only real test I think that they're going to be having, though, on the road since they played since they played the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, they were actually on the road, not at home there. But, the other road game, you play the Saints, you beat them. The Saints aren't very good. The Steelers are a different animal than the New Orleans Saints, in my opinion. And because, all these different things, the Bills have been disappointing. They've been playing some pretty easy teams so far this year. I think the Jaguars are a good football team, but I definitely think they're overrated sitting at 5-2 right now. I think kind of the novice football fan will look at their record and be like, oh man, the Jacksonville Jaguars are 5-2. They're one of the best teams in football right now. Well, I think that they've got strengths for sure, but I definitely think they're a bit overrated at this point. This is definitely a winnable football game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's take a look at the season trends to this point, starting with the matchup between the Steelers offense and the Jaguars defense. Steelers offense still averaging less than 20 points per game. I mean, it is Matt Canada we're talking about here. And then the Jacksonville defense has actually been pretty decent, 20.9 points allowed per game. The yards per game is a lot higher, though, at 354. So the ability to move down the football field, I think, is definitely going to be there. And something that's definitely interesting, at least from my perspective, when I looked at the numbers this week, is you look at the third down and red zone percentage there, pretty much identical on both sides there. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see how that plays out. But also, the Jacksonville defense has done a really good job at forcing turnovers. Over the last couple of weeks, Kenny Pickett and the Steelers offense, if they've had any strength, it's been that they haven't turned the ball over, right? And that's why the Steelers have been winning football games. They got to, once again, protect the football if they want to win this week. Now let's move over to the other side here where the Jacksonville offense is averaging about 24.7 points per game. Steelers defense giving up about 21. They've held their opponent to less than 20 over their last 2 games, though, so keep that in mind. Jacksonville has turned the ball over quite a bit on offense, 10 turnovers, and then the Steelers defense, of course, is doing a good job turning the ball over as well with 12. So expect Trevor Lawrence to maybe turn the ball over a couple times in this football game. And if you believe the trends here, it would predict that the Jacksonville Jaguars would come into Acrisure Stadium and win a close one here by a final score of 23-20. I'm going to give you guys my official score prediction here for Week 8, not Week 7. Sorry about that on the graphic. But then I'm also going to do keys to victory versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got 5 of them here for this week's game. And then also I got Trevor Lawrence's scouting report after going through his film this week. You're not going to want to miss it. But before I get into all that, let's have a word from our sponsor at HexClad. And if you're looking for some premium cookware, this has definitely got to be the company that you turn to. HexClad has revolutionized the cookware industry with a hybrid pan that gives you all the convenience and cleanup of a nonstick, the versatility of your grandma's cast iron, and a lifetime warranty just in case you find a way to destroy them. Go to hexclad.com/chatsports for 10% off today. HexClad truly checks every single box when it comes to picking your cookware. They are metal utensil safe, dishwasher safe, and oven safe up to 500 degrees. But don't just take my word for it, guys. Celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay uses these pans in his very own home kitchen. This is what Gordon has to say about HexClad. The sear I can get with these pans is incredible, with absolutely no stick. The temperature control is utter perfection, and the cleanup is effortless. I love using HexClad at home. And let me tell you guys, these are the sexiest pans on the market as well. This is my very own HexClad pan I brought from home. I pan-sear steak on this thing twice a week with my girlfriend, Cassie. You can just ask her. I pan-sear one mean steak on this. And then the best part is, too, the cleanup is super easy. This looks like it's right out of the box. Look how crystal clean this is. Super easy to clean up. It's absolutely fantastic. So score points at home today with HexClad. It's time to stop ordering delivery food and start cooking like a big boy with HexClad today. Real cuisine isn't made in a microwave. It's cooked in a HexClad. So for a limited time only, get 10% off with our special link, hexclad.com/chatsports. That's 10% off at HEXCLAD.com/chatsports. My first key to victory versus the Jaguars this week is feast or famine on the Steelers' pass rush. Plain and simply, I think the defensive X factor this week is going to be the pass rush. Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, Keanu Benton, they need to get after Trevor Lawrence. This is not a very good offensive line for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll break down their Pro Football Focus grades here in just a second. But plain and simply, you can't let Trevor Lawrence beat you in this football game. He is a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, in my opinion. Here's his numbers to this point: completing 67.4% of his passes, just over 230 yards per game, 8 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. And then you look at the advanced stats here. Not only does he have a rocket arm, not only is he a plus runner, all these different things that we know Trevor Lawrence to be. He was a number 1 overall pick. But he's also extremely accurate. He's 7th in catchable ball percentage. He's 3rd in on-target percentage. 80% of his throws is thrown exactly where he wants to put it. So this guy's extremely accurate. The big-time throw percentage is 12th. The turnover-worthy play percentage, however, is 23rd in the league. So he is a little bit aggressive in his play, in his decision making. But overall, in terms of overall value here, the points above replacement, 31.3 points above replacement so far this year. That's 11th in the National Football League, and he's 8th out of 25 quarterbacks in Pro Football Focus right now with an 81.8 PFF grade. So those are some numbers to kind of back up my scouting report here on Trevor Lawrence. I think, obviously, you look at the size, you look at the arm strength and the arm talent, the ability to make plays outside of the pocket, the ability to be a runner. And also, I'm really impressed with Trevor Lawrence's pocket presence, his ability to stand in there, to feel pressure. However, he does have some cons. He's not the most anticipatory thrower. Guys like Brock Purdy, other guys like that can really anticipate open windows. Trevor is one of those guys that's had such a strong arm. He's never had to do that really until now in the National Football League, so he's not the best at that. He's also a very aggressive decision maker, can make some mistakes. He is vulnerable to make some bad decisions, as we could see with that turnover-worthy play percentage. And then the footwork can get a little bit dicey here and there. But at the end of the day, with the accuracy, with the arm strength, with the ability to make big plays, in my opinion, Lawrence is a top 10 NFL quarterback. And because of that, you got to take advantage of a really bad offensive line here in Jacksonville. This is definitely a big mismatch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. As we can see with these Pro Football Focus grades, none of these are particularly high. Brendan Sheriff and Cam Robinson are doing okay, but the rest of those guys, Tyler Shatley, Luke Fortner, Anton Harrison, the rookie out of Oklahoma, all those guys are struggling right now. And speaking of Anton Harrison, I think that's going to be the matchup to watch because he's going to be lining up against the best edge rusher in the National Football League right now in TJ Watt. You can just see the Pro Football focus grade difference here. TJ Watt is towards the top of the league with a 91.7 grade. Anton is sitting there at just 56.7. I think TJ is going to have a massive football game here if the Steelers are going to win this one. So let me know what you guys think about this matchup heading into this week's game. Will TJ Watt not just get one sack, but multiple sacks this week? Give me a yes or give me a no. Predict it for me down there in the comments section. Another player that you just can't let beat you if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers is Travis Etienne. Etienne absolutely ran all over the place last week versus the New Orleans Saints. And overall, he's been very, very good this year, despite not having the best offensive line in front of him. Etienne is one of the most explosive, talented running backs in the National Football League. We know the Steelers' rush defense hasn't exactly been stellar this year. So far this year, Etienne over 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he's definitely an explosive player. If you're the Steelers defense, you can't let this guy beat you. Then third on my list of keys to victory, you got to cover Christian Kirk in the slot. Calvin Ridley was supposed to come in this year and be their number one guy. He's been a massive disappointment. Christian Kirk, on the other hand, has been their number one guy. 39 catches, 474 yards, and 3 tutties. And this guy is really dangerous from the slot, which is really where the Steelers are most vulnerable. Now, last week, Mike Tomlin and Teryl Austin put Minkah Fitzpatrick in the slot to cover Cooper Kupp to try to take him away. Will they do the same this week to try to cover up Christian Kirk? I think that's something I'm going to be watching for heading into this matchup. But when it comes to the slot, I think there's a couple guys that could be playing there this weekend. We saw Patrick Peterson do a little bit this weekend. Minkah played there a lot versus Cooper Kupp when he was in the slot. But let me know who you think should be getting the most reps as the slot corner here in the Steelers defense. Should it be Chandon Sullivan, type CS? Do you think it should be Minkah Fitzpatrick, type MF? Or do you think it should be Patrick Peterson? Should they move him from outside to inside, type PP, if you think it should be Pat P? All right, now my fourth key to victory, now shifting to the offensive side of the ball. I think the game wrecker on this Jacksonville defense is Josh Allen. No, it's not the Buffalo Bills quarterback. It is the edge rusher Josh Allen, who is still among, in my opinion, a top 10 edge rusher in this league. I think he's one of the more underrated edge rushers. Everybody knows that he's good. I'm just not sure people realize just how good he is. Right now, his Pro Football Focus grade an 89.8, which is 9th out of 109 NFL edge rushers right now. He's absolutely fantastic. He already has 7 sacks, and he's going to be probably lining up against either Dan Moore Jr. or Chukwuma Okorafor, most likely Dan Moore. I thought Dan actually had a pretty decent week coming off his injury versus the Los Angeles Rams, but the Rams don't really have anybody that can affect the pocket. Josh Allen is a different animal. Dan Moore Jr. is no longer the lowest graded offensive tackle in football, but he's still towards the bottom. So it's looking like that Josh Allen will be lining up against Dan Moore Jr. And if Dan Moore keeps getting schooled by Josh Allen all game long and he keeps putting pressure on Kenny Pickett, it's going to be a long day yet again for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So next up here, I got my biggest X factor on offense this week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. But before I reveal who that is, go ahead right now and click that thumbs up icon, because every like that we get on today's video is going to equal 1 yard of offense versus the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. Let's rack it up. Let's get at least 400 likes here so that Matt Canada can finally get that first 400-yard game in his tenure as the offensive coordinator here in Pittsburgh. All right, now let's go to the last key to victory here. And the biggest X factor offensively, in my opinion, is you got to attack the Jacksonville Jaguars through the air. And this is one of the big reasons why I think a lot of the pundits around the league are going to pick Jacksonville to win this game. Right now, the way that you beat Jacksonville is through the air. They're 31st in pass defense, and they're 4th in rush defense. So in the past here, the last couple opponents for the Steelers, one of the keys to victory was to get the run game going with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. This week, a lot of it is going to be on Kenny Pickett's shoulders, in my opinion. Take a look at his numbers here. Just over 60% completion percentage. It's one of the lowest among starters. Just over 200 yards per game passing. 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions at this point. And you look at the advanced stats, and they're definitely not fantastic, right? 35th in catchable ball percentage, right? There's some backups that are being more accurate. than Kenny Pickett at this point. He's 28th in on target, 24th in big-time throw percentage. I will give him credit for being 15th, at least league average in turnover-worthy play percentage, but that could always be better. And right now he's the 36th most valuable quarterback in the National Football League with negative 11.1 points above replacement. He has not been very valuable this year. However, he played a lot better last week versus the Rams. And the Rams going into last week's game was giving up less than 20 points per game. So Kenny looked a lot better with Deontay Johnson back in the lineup. George Pickens was balling out as well. Connor Hayward, I think, is a guy that can get open a lot from the tight end spot. So I'm hoping that Kenny Pickett has turned a new leaf here. And I think this is an excellent opportunity for him to prove himself because he's going to have to be the X factor this week. We're going to have to win this football game because Kenny Pickett outplays Trevor Lawrence, which is another reason why that pass rush needs to be a big factor to kind of disrupt Lawrence's play, because we all know Trevor Lawrence is probably more talented than Kenny Pickett, but Pickett really needs to show up and prove why he is the future of this franchise this week. So let me know who you think is going to have the better performance here in Week 8. Will it be Kenny Pickett or will it be Trevor Lawrence? Who plays better in this football game? Type KP if you think it's going to be Kenny, or if you think it's going to be Trevor, type TL down there in the comments. Now, my official Week 8 score prediction, I think it's going to be a defensive ball game. I think Kenny Pickett's going to show some flashes, but it's still going to be pretty rocky. And in the end, I think when you get into these close games, the Steelers right now are 4-0 in one-score ball games. I think this is a resilient bunch. Like Mike Tomlin says, they cut off their eyelids. They don't blink. So I think in a close football game here, I think they hold on by 3 points at home, 17-14. And once again, the Steelers defense holds an opponent to less than 20 points. Now it's your turn. Get in the comments section right now and let me know who you think is going to win this football game and what the score is going to be. Get your score predictions down there in the comments section. And then also, if you want to see where the Steelers rank in the Chat Sports NFL Power Rankings heading into Week 8, go ahead and check out that video. I'm going to put the link to that in the comments and description. And then also, I will say, the Steelers went up quite a bit this week after that win versus the Rams. You're going to want to check it out, and that'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Would not be here without you guys. Thank you so much for everything that you do for this channel. Make sure you click that subscribe button, not only for daily Steelers news and rumors coverage, but also for our live watch parties on Sundays throughout the 2023 NFL season. I will see you guys later, Steelers Nation. Thank you so much for your love and support, and until next time, here we go, Steelers.